Hi everyone, I just watched the video by CodeBullet on how to make a calculator using marbles. I thought it was really awesome, but I think he had such a problem with timing that a lot of his circuit was just to control timing, and I don't think it's really that necessary to have that. So I thought of a different kind of circuit, so I've drawn it over here. Don't worry, I'll show it later again. In which way you don't have such a problem with timing, and you can also just keep on counting without having to reset the entire circuit. So just to talk about something that CodeBullet really skipped over, when we count in decimals, we count from 0 to 9, and then once we reach 9, we have to overflow, so we go to a second slot, which is 10 slot, and this will be the ones slot. So we have 1 times 10, and 0 times 1, which is 10. And if we have a 9 over here, it will be 1 times 10 times 9 times 1 will be 19, which is pretty familiar to us. And when we go to binary, we can count from 0 to 1, and then already we overflow into the second slot, which will be the 2's. So we have 1's, 2's, 4, 8, 4, and there we have a normal equation for it. So we have base 2, and the first slot will be 0 because we start counting at 0 as programmers. So we get 2 to the power of 0 will be 1, and then we get 2, 4, which is exactly how we count in decimal, but with base 10, so we have 1, 10, and 100. So when I'm saying the first slot in decimal, that's just the 1 slot, so it's either 0 or 1. With that out of the way, let's look at this picture. There's something funny about decimals, about binary numbers. If we look at this decimal numbers 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, those are all in the first slot, but with binaries we immediately jump to the second slot and even use the third slot. We have just the fourth number already. But if you look only at the first slot, you can see it goes from 0 to 1, 0, 1, 0. So it just alternates between 0 and 1. And it will be 1 always when the decimal number is uneven. You see 1 and 3 is uneven, and then this one is 1. So if you make a switch here, and you say, well, let's put this little wheel on top of here. This wheel is fixed on this little spindle over here, and it starts like this. So a ball moves down, and it will hit this side of the wheel, and it cannot move any further counterclockwise because it will hit this wall. So it will roll over to here, and there it can move. So this wheel will move like this, and it will fall through this side. But then the next ball, it will have exactly the same thing, but mirrored, so it can move against this side of the wheel, but now it cannot move against this side of the wall, so it will fall down here. So the first will fall down through the right, second through the left, third through the right, fourth through the left. So all the uneven numbered balls will go here, and all the even ones will go here. So if we look at this system again, you can say if we get an uneven ball, we need to save it into the first slot. And if we get an even ball, we need to clear the first slot. The first slot needs to be 0, so there need to be no marbles in it. So if you make, wait, let me just show you how CodeBullet did it. He just had buckets. He said, well, if there's a ball here, that will be a 1. But he didn't have any way to clear this bucket, so he had to have a lot of complicated arithmetic with logic gates to get that to work, so that only a ball gets into a bucket when it should really go into a bucket. Whereas with my approach, you just throw this ball, the first ball, into the bucket. And then if you're later like, oh shit, there shouldn't be any ball here in this bucket, that will happen when you get an even numbered marble going through the circuit. So that will go through here, move through the left to gain momentum when it comes back to the right, and it will hit this kicker like in CodeBullet's video, and it will push out this little ball, and this will be emptied. And then the ball has to continue, because of course we have overflow. We have to go to the second slot. So how are we going to do that? Well, let me just get my... Alright, there we go. We just have another circuit exactly the same as before. So this will be the 1 slot where the ball will be laying to the note A. We have a 1, and this will be the 2 slot. So let me just see here where I left that. Yeah. So we need to find a way to, when we have an overflow, to just put a ball here in the neck of the second circuit. Because if the ball goes through here, it goes through the right and it will be saved here. So that's our overflow. We note, hey, we have a 2. Because if 1 plus 1, this will make this one empty and we'll put a ball over here. So how do we do that? We have a little swing. It's kind of basically the same of how Copula did it. We just have this elevator. So the swing over here, the ball will fall through. It will move this swing up on this side, which will move the rod up. And then we have a little feeder on top here. So you have this little pusher. Yeah, let me just start with the balls. They are running down here, down the pipe. And then they will reach this little wall, so they stop. And then if this pusher moves up, because the rod moving up, then it will push the ball over the edge. And it will roll down here into the 2s. So now we can do some basic arithmetic with that. We'll say we do 3 plus 1, so we had to write it down. We have 1 over here, and then we have 3, which means 1 in the 2 input and 1 in the 1 input. So a ball will go down here. It will go through the right, be saved. Second ball will come down, go through the left, clear this one, then it goes down here, move this one up, the feeder will be activated and adds a ball into this neck, which will go to the right. Now we say we add the input of the second one, so it goes down, goes through the left, and clears this one, and it goes down here, and now we have a problem because it will just fall forever. So we have this little overflow bucket, because this is what happens in computing also. When you reach the end of your circuit, you cannot save your data anymore, so we just have the overflow bucket, which in this case is 4. And it kind of also works because you can like count to 8, and then we'll just have this one empty and this one empty, and we have 2 balls in here. But that will involve you doing multiplication in your head, and that's not nice for a calculator. You say, hey, add these 2 numbers together for me, and it says, yeah, just multiply 4 by 3 times or 2 times or whatever. So to avoid that, we can just add more circuits over here. So instead of having an overflow bucket, we just move this over here. We'll just save the one over here also, but we just add another one, put the feeder and the swing over there also, and just keep on expanding it in a way that I showed before with the 1, 2, 4, 8, etc. So nice thing here is that the timing isn't that big of an issue. Of course, you have to control that when the balls go down here and they move down here and up here, that they don't coincide with the input, because then they can move through the same switch at the same time, and that will totally ruin your calculation. But it's not that bad as in Copula's video. And another nice thing is that we now did the summation, so we have 4, and now we can just continue on. We can put a ball down this one, so we can add 1, and it will be saved here. So now we have 5. We say, oh, we'll add another one, it'll clear this one, go on here, and we'll save over here. So now we have 6, and we can just keep on adding numbers without having to reset the entire system. So in that way, I think it's a lot better. Of course, getting this actually to work with code and just fine-tuning it so the wheels don't get stuck or whatever weird things happen. The feeder that just feeds 2 or none at some time. You really have to fine-tune that, but I think the general design of this would make it a lot simpler and more easily readable calculator. So thanks for watching, and Have a good night.